is going on, guys? Thank you for joining today's podcast. I am Nestor Sanchez. This is my boy.
And my name is Ryan Prendez.
We are the Master Nodes. Today, we're actually interviewing one Tyler Dorsey.
What's the deal, man? Trader skater extraordinaire. Here to give you guys some extra sexy sauce on this Sunday. Thank you, Master Notes, for having me on, man. I appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, no problem, brother. Thank you. Appreciate you for taking the time out of your day to tap into our podcast. Hopefully, we drop some gems during this podcast for our viewers out there.
Oh, facts. Come on, now. That's what we're here to do, baby.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do? What's your free time like? And what can you bring us to this podcast?
So a little bit about myself. My main sauce is I work in the jewelry industry. Specifically, I am a gemologist, which means that I study diamonds and gemstones, give them clarity grades, give them, the rare certifications to say whether it is or is not actually a gemstone, and some other things like that would take me a really long time to get into. So for the sake of the podcast, we'll just say, I'm a gemologist for one of the most popular wedding ring companies on the planet. We're like top 10 in demand. So I see some amazing gemstones and jewelry, and that's one of my main passions. And then, of course, on the side, my main time is just filled up with educating myself on trading, trying to find new things to invest into, cryptocurrency research. A lot of the stuff, that we share in common is what I spend my free time doing, I would say.
Got a certified gemologist, and he's dropping gems. So definitely love that. They fit hand in hand. So what are some of your favorite assets and why?
So some of my favorite assets right now are I've been trading GBP JPY a lot and USD JPY. Just been having good success going against the yen, trading Japanese yen pairs. To be honest with you, I haven't even figured out why yet. I just know that it works with my strategy, and so you don't fix what's not broken type shit. You know what I mean? So GJ and UJ are my Forex bread and butter. I also really like trading indices, so I trade NAS 100 and S&P 500 a lot. And then I recently got into trading commodities such as gold and oil because they really react economically. So it's been, I would say, easier to trade those than it has in the past, for me at least.
And what about cryptocurrency?
So cryptos, I'm more of an investor. If there's a really solid setup on Bitcoin or Ethereum, I will trade Ethereum or Bitcoin. But those markets are more volatile in a different way, into the sense where they're a little more unpredictable than the markets I trade that are controlled by central banks. So I do trade crypto, just not as much as I invest in it. I love investing in cryptocurrency for sure.
So would you say that you trade more or that you invest more?
For me, that's really going to depend on market conditions. Like right now, we've been in a pretty aggressive bear market for the past 6 to 7 months. So I've only been profitable really just trading. It's going to depend on, how the world's moving, because when the time is right, I think I prefer to invest and just use technical analysis on really high time frames to find the best dollar cost averaging. And that's kind of how I invest. But I think just for times where the market goes back and forth, you kind of have to be well versed in both so that you can consistently make profit.
So we heard you talking about JPY, USD. A lot of people don't really know about Forex much. When they hear about Forex, I think the people that they come up with are the people who actually scam people, right? A lot of people, hey, I'm in Forex, right? Give me some money through Cash App. I'll flip it for you, right? And then these are obvious scams. You don't really want to be just giving people money straight up, especially if you don't know them. They have no certifications. What to you is Forex, and how has it impacted you?
So for me, Forex is actually what I started trading with. It's something that really interested me just because of what it is, right? So the way I can explain Forex to somebody who's a beginner with finances is it stands for foreign exchange, right? Forex is just kind of a slang term given to it to shorten it up. But really what it is foreign exchange. And we all know that each country has its own currency, right? The United States has the United States dollar. The Canadians have the Canadian dollar. People in Japan use the Japanese yen. People in Europe use the euro. People in Great Britain use the Great British pound. So around the world, we all have different currencies, right? Now, these currencies have different values. And when paired up against each other, that value slash ratio of one currency to another will fluctuate just as any other market does, like stocks or crypto. So really all you're doing is taking advantage of the fluctuation in prices between those two currencies. So, for a light example, it's when you go to another country and you go to the currency exchange booth, you can't use dollars there, right? So sometimes you'll go to, like, let's say, for example, me, you, and Ryan take a trip to Japan, right? We go to Japan, we exchange our $1,000 for Japanese yen, and the equivalence in money that we have in Japanese yen turns out to be around 1,200 US dollars. So we're kind of confused, right? How did we make money? Really, all that happened was the rate between the US dollars and the Japanese yen happens to go up or down, which affects the profit you make. So currency exchange is actually very prevalent in everyday life, and people just don't really know that you can take advantage of the fluctuation of price between two countries.
Yeah, and even if it's like a small fluctuation, you could really have like some capital gains in that if it compounds over time.
Yeah.
One thing I kind of wanted to talk about was, right now there's a lot of news of the dollar being at an all-time high and the Great British Pound being at an all-time low. So can you give some insight on what they mean by that? Does it have to do with inflation? Does it have, why is it at an all-time high? Is that a good thing for us? Will it keep going up, or will we see it drop? And if it drops, what is one of the reasons why?
Well, when we're speaking in terms of the currency strengths and whether they're good or bad, that's really just, it's really, at the end of the day, it's a measure of that country's economic state, right? So you'll see the dollar is at an all-time high. And yes, like you said it yourself in the question, that's basically because of inflation. How everything has been unraveling in our country has resulted to the dollar being inflated to a price that we all know is essentially going to pop soon. It's not going to hold, and it's not going to keep going up. But the Japanese yen and the Great British Pound, they react differently. Like we saw a spike in the Japanese yen when the Japanese prime minister got assassinated. And we see, a little bit of a fluctuation in price on the Great British Pound when Boris Johnson resigned. And then a lot of people were expecting the Great British Pound to have heavy impact when the Queen passed away, but that wasn't really what occurred. It had more of an impact when the Bank of England decided to raise their interest rates by 50 BPS. Now, this is where the comparison game starts to get a little bit played, is because we know as investors who stick to Wall Street and keep our ears to it, we know the Federal Reserve has been what we consider aggressively raising the interest rates by 75 BPS or basis points, right? So a 50% basis point raise was already done for us a long time ago. For the Bank of England, that just happened for the first time ever. So they're starting to see the same effects that we have seen, but it's just affecting them more because they don't have as much market capital in their economy. Does that kind of make sense?
Mm-hmm. And can you explain a little bit on what BPS is?
So it's basically basis points. The way I can explain it in simple terms is they raise the interest rates by percentage, like fractions of a percent, because a percentage point, a full percent, would be very alarming for a lot of investors and a lot of institutions who get capital gains by doing loans or real estate, things like that. A lot of the circulation we see comes from that type of economy. So that's really what it is fractions of a percent. So like 50 BPS, 50 basis points is 0.5%. Mm-hmm. 75 BPS is 0.75%. And then we're all hearing about they could do 100 BPS, which would mean a full basis point, a full percent, which is what I said would be very alarming to a lot of long-term investors and institutions.
Yeah, most definitely. And then so going back to your beginning trading journey? Like, how did you start trading?
Oh man, it was a mess. It was a beautiful mess, right? So I really just, to be honest with you guys, man, I was, that was about 2 years ago. I had just moved into a new apartment with a roommate that I was living with at the time, and my jewelry career kind of just got back on track from the pandemic, and I just knew I wanted to make more money, but I didn't know how I wanted to do so because I had just moved twice, and I realized like, yo, moving is a lot. I wish I just had 25, 30K just like saved up so I didn't have to make this money to spend it to move, you know? So I just started looking at little things like how could I make more money? And then realistically, man, I just got enticed by the flashy stuff on Instagram. I was seeing, you know, I've always been the type of person to get a little bit hyped on material motivation, to be 100% honest with you. I like jewelry, obviously. I like fancy cars. I like luxury stuff, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but I was always enticed by it. And one day, me and my girlfriend, who I'm still with and lives with me now, we were sitting in our room scrolling on Instagram, and we saw one of her friends had just bought a new Benz, really nice car. It was like a brand new 2016 version or whatever, you know, which at that time was only a couple years old. So it's a really nice car, you know. And she's about 19 years old, and she had bought the car, like paid it off in full. And this is somebody that my girlfriend used to do business with in the music industry. She was a rapper, and they used to connect that way because she's a photographer and da 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 da. So we had hit her up and we said, "Hey, what are you doing? And you know, how did you get a Benz at 19? Like, what's the is your lash business really popping like that? Like, what's going on? You know?" And she was like, "Oh, you know, I'm doing this thing called network marketing, and I'm with this company called I Am Academy, and they teach you how to invest and trade into foreign exchange and all kinds of other stuff." So I was just kind of like, yo, if she's really making money like that, then we're kind of stupid to not give it a try, you know? So we signed up and we gave it a try. It didn't work out for my girlfriend. She didn't really like the structure of it. But for me, you know, we could go into a whole hour conversation of what happened with my exact organization within IM. But that's not a pretty story, so we'll skip that. What I saw in IM was the value of trading and how much it can change people's lives and how much networking can change people's lives. And just, I kind of got my foot in this door of investing and trading that I thought I would never be in. I thought it was only for rich people. I thought it was only for people who didn't come from lower income neighborhoods. And I thought it was just something out of reach for me completely. So I just kind of stuck with that. And I stayed with IM Academy for around a year. Learned a lot of different strategies, met a lot of really amazing people that I'm still friends with to this day. And it just got to the point where I felt like the information I was learning on the Go Live sessions was super repetitive. And I was just like, I don't really feel like I'm learning much no more. I feel like I've kind of hit the cap of what is known as retail knowledge. So I wanted to expand my ventures, and I joined this group from two profitable day traders called SNS, and they trade indices more than Forex. So that's where I wanted to learn how to trade S&P and NAS 100, and they trade options and stuff. So a little more stock-based, but we're still doing Forex. And then I also took Michael Huddleston, very famous trader known as ICT. I took his course on YouTube. So kind of took my whole little journey and just mixed the things that I've learned to figure out what works for me. And then once I figured that out, I'm just, you know, aggressively doing that and practicing it every day.
That's really cool. I really love how you're saying, like, you know, it really just opened your eyes. You thought this was only for rich older white folk, like and that's how a lot of people think, honestly. And that's how I was too, you know. I didn't think a brown person could do this. I didn't think a brown person could
people like us you don't see people with dreads on Wall Street. I thought it wasn't for
yeah. Well, actually, shout out to EYL is making their move
now. There is, we got them like that. So and that's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. I've never been more hyped, you know.
And like what you're saying too, it's not just the education, it's networking, it's learning, it's meeting new people, and that's what gets you into different doors, right? You're saying, okay, I thought that or I learned about all these different people, all these different things, doing new things, and it opened you up to, okay, now I like NAS, right? I like trading indices, I like trading stocks now. And that, well, it isn't for me anymore. So now I have to move on to something else. And this evolution is what keeps everybody where we're at, and it can take you where you want to go as well.
Oh yeah, facts. And it teaches you a lot about yourself. It teaches you more about yourself than I even was ready for, to be honest.
Yeah, it taught me so much in terms of like, oh, I didn't know I had these problems internally,
Oh yeah.
and that's what's actually stopping me from making money.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think it's, oh, I can't make money because, well, my family didn't do it, or that's not what is for me, or all these different excuses that they're creating. But in reality, it's all internal. The money starts when you start changing your brain, start changing who you're around, and
Rewire
that's
your thought process.
exactly. So, what is something you could give, a tip, maybe some advice on some investors who aren't investors yet, for traders who are not traders yet?
Yeah, for sure. So I just hit my second year, like actively trading. I started investing about a year ago. Shout out to Ryan, who kind of actually put me onto the importance of doing both. I was just like, I'm going to trade and become a millionaire, and I don't need to do anything else. But yeah, he kind of made me realizing that investing is important too. So the one thing that I would say, like the most important tip, and it's probably going to sound super cliche, and you guys are probably going to hate me for it, like, but it's so important. That's why Nestor's smiling, because he knows what I'm going to say already. Is you have to be patient, right? I'm going to elaborate though. I'm not just going to leave you with that and try to be some, guru about it. You have to be patient, and you have to learn yourself, right? Because that's what I didn't realize. There's so many ways in this space to amass wealth. There is so many ways in this space to amass wealth. I've met 7-figure network marketers who just expose this market to people and have made wealth that way. They don't even know how to trade. I've met people who are 7-figure patterns traders. They trade head and shoulders only. They trade the inverted head and shoulders and double tops and double bottoms only, and they're millionaires. I've met people who swear to God patterns do not work. Everything that's ever been put in a book is bullshit, and institutions control the market. I've met so many people that see the market in different ways, but you got to think, you're all making money. So what's the real thing we got to learn here is, yes, it's harder for people to really learn themselves and really learn discipline and the mental aspect of what they have going on than it is to learn a profitable strategy with an edge. And I think that's what people forget. Because I could take 2.5 to 3 hours to teach you and Ryan my strategy that is proven statistically to be profitable and has an edge. And it might not work for you guys because you grew up differently. You have different mental conditions. You see life differently. You're more or less patient than I am. You may have different tools than I do, and your network is different. So how do all these differences come into the one thing that tethers everybody successful together? It's learning yourself. It's so hard to really stick with something. And one of my favorite things is touching on the definition of insanity. Let's just touch on that for a second, right? Because if you read the definition of insanity, I think one of the most approved definitions by Webster or whatever institutional dictionary you want to believe in, one of the accepted definitions of insanity is trying something numerous times and expecting a different result, right? So you try something over and over and over again, and the same thing keeps happening, but you try it a 5th time, you try it a 6th time, you try it a 7th time, you try it an 8th time. Most people, as humans, we are conditioned to have a reaction that says, hey, we're not going to do that no more. This hurts, right? So most people with logic would blow an account the 2nd time, blow an account the 3rd time, and be like, hey, I'm losing money. This isn't for me, right? But traders are actually insane. We like to try the same thing over and over and over again, and we hope that it works out. But I've been through this kind of process before with skateboarding, right? Because I grew up skateboarding my whole life. And I was kind of thinking about it randomly, like, okay, skating, you could watch somebody from far away, and let's say they're trying to jump down a staircase, right? They're gonna fly down this staircase and eat shit 8 to 9 times in a row. Somebody's gonna walk by that and go, oh, they're insane. Why are they doing that? They keep falling. I don't get it, right? But to that person who's skateboarding, Each time we pop off the stair set, we moved our foot an inch. Okay, now we shifted our weight a little more forward. Okay, now we popped before the crack. Okay, now we went faster. Okay, now we went a little bit slower, right? You're just tweaking little things until it works for you. And then when it works, it's all worth it. So that's how trading and skating are actually really similar. You just keep tweaking little things and okay, that didn't work. Let me load this $20 account, try to trade it. I blew it. Okay, let me try it again. I blew it. But you're tweaking these little things. You're saying, okay, I got greedy. Okay, I was scared to pull the trigger. I should have entered the trade and I didn't. Okay, I took the trade too late. Okay, I saw the move happen and then I jumped in on a retracement because of FOMO when I should have just said, hey, that was the original move. Let me look for a new idea, you know? So there's little things you got to just keep tweaking. And that's one of the things that I would give people to kind of tie this all up and answer your question for real. You're going to have to be a little bit insane and be very patient because it's a long process of fixing things and looking at yourself and saying, am I being greedy? Am I being fearful? Am I scared of missing out on stuff? Do I pull the trigger too early? Do I not pull the trigger enough? You know, it's going to take a lot of self-reflection. So the two things that you need when you're getting into this space, a lot of patience and a lot of willingness to self-reflect.
I agree 100%. You know, there's a famous quote I actually heard 2 weekends ago when me and us were at a conference was, you know, winners never quit and quitters never win. And so what you got to do is exactly like you said, you just got to keep trying. You know, it's not going to be multi-millionaire overnight, like, oh, you know, I'm going to make this insane trade. Like sometimes it does happen, you know, especially with like, you know, not just even trading. I've seen it happen with people holding on to NFTs. You know, they buy an NFT for like $100 and then quite literally the next morning or even a couple hours later, that NFT worth a couple $1,000s, you know? So it just, you know, sometimes it does happen, but it's not guaranteed. You know, nothing's guaranteed in this life. And so what you got to do is you got to just keep being persistent. You know, you got to keep trying. You got to, you know, trial and error, because if you don't test your limits and you don't test, you know, your ideas, you're never going to know if that's a possibility or not.
And block out the noise, man, because people are going to look at you like you're going crazy and they're going to tell you, hey, this is stupid, stop. But as long as you know that you're tweaking little things and you're getting closer each day, 1% better or 1 inch closer, that's all that matters.
Yeah, and then one thing that I believe me and you, Ty, talked about was when it comes to trading specifically, sometimes, you know, you may have a certain target that you want to hit, and, you know, let's say you want to grow your count by 8%, but you sometimes, like in a day, you could hit 2% or even 1%. Even just growing that little bit, or 0.5%, even just growing that little bit is way better than not growing at all. You know, because that little bit's going to compound over time. Eventually, if you grow 0.5% for 2 weeks straight, you're already beating the S&P. You're already beating, you know, the highest interest rates a bank will give on a simple savings account. You know.
Exactly. You know, S&P does on average 12 to 13% a year. And at that rate is considered one of the best investment classes available to North Americans. So if you can do 0.5% a day for a month, you beat S&P 500, dog. Stop trying to grow your account by 50% overnight. Stop trying to load $20 and make 50 the next day. You know, take that dollar profit and be hyped with it and understand the longevity of what's happening.
Yeah, that's great. I really love the skateboard analogy too. I feel like it really applies to people who are like sports oriented. I feel like with us, it's all or nothing, right? We go all in on something. We try our best. If it doesn't work out, well, guess what? We're trying our best again, and then again, and then again. And like, if I was trash at basketball, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was not the best, but because I had the love for it, because I wanted to do better, well, guess what? I got better. And now I'm trying my best every single day to get better and better and better. And that's how it should be with trading. That's how it should be with life. Don't be scared of those small wins, because a lot of people are like, oh, I only made $1. This can't make me a millionaire. Well, that same dollar can be $10, can be $100, can be 1,000. It's just all the time, really.
They're not thinking that dollar is making you a millionaire faster than the mindset of, oh, this is only $1 is.
Yeah, it's like one of those things where, have you ever seen would you rather have a penny doubled every day for 30 days or $1 million? It's like people are gonna want to go for the instant money.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Like, why would I want a penny like doubled? Like, what is that gonna do? But eventually, after those 30 days, you're gonna get way more than $1 million. I think it's like almost like 1.8 or something like that. And
It's
so
more that people wouldn't think, which is
yeah, exactly. Well, that's kind of wraps up today's podcast. Thank you for everyone for tapping in. Thank you, Ty. Much appreciated, dog. For your time. But remember to follow and subscribe to our social media accounts on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, and Twitter, all at the Masternodes. Our visual podcast experience can be found on YouTube, and our audio podcast experience can be found on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and all your favorite podcast sources. Remember to visit our website, www.themasternodes.com, and subscribe to our email list to receive the latest and greatest cryptocurrency information.
And for Tyler, let's drop some stuff that you want us to look at. I know you are a gemologist. I know you have some Instagrams, maybe some YouTubes that you want to drop.
Oh yeah, no, I got some stuff you guys could check out for sure. And shout out to you boys, man. Keep feeding the streets. This is something that a lot of people need, and 99% of people aren't willing to do this. So keep it up. I appreciate this.
100%. Thank you.
Well, to our viewers out there, Ty, I remember you saying you wanted to, or you're going to be starting a podcast soon. Would you like to give more information on that, more information maybe on your Instagrams?
Yeah, for sure. So
Big House.
There's going to be a main podcast that I'm starting. It's called The Land, right? So it's basically everybody in LA who is an investor, trader, has an interesting career. We're just going to get them on. We're going to talk. It's really going to be a kickback show, So there's no pre-scheduled questions. We really just going to chop it up, talk shit. It's really going to be an unfiltered show. And I think that more people our age need to get into the investing talk without it being so serious. So that's one of my main things, to get people on there and let's talk about money in a way that we all enjoy.
Absolutely. Love it. We also have our Discord that you guys can hop into. You guys can always send us a DM. We'll always shoot you guys that link. Also, we are partnered with I Am Mastery Academy. You guys can always be a part of our team. We will learn about investing, whether it be in stocks, Forex, HFX, all these different things. We also have travel clubs that you could also be a part of, which is great. And as always, you can ask us, DM us, comments, and we'll respond to you guys for that. And we appreciate you guys being on here. As always, try your best to choose kindness.
Yes, thank you guys for tapping in. Much appreciated as always, and bless up.
Salute.
Here at the Masternodes, we are not making any claims as to income you may earn. Before entering any agreement, please use caution and seek the advice of a professional advisor, such as attorney or financial advisor.
Please ensure your own research is done before investing any money into the market.